Evolution is supposed to be a filter, but some animals clearly cheated. There are creatures alive right now that have no business existing in 2026. Species so old, so weird, or so poorly designed for the modern world that every biologist who studies them looks slightly confused. Here are the animals that should have been gone millions of years ago, but somehow never got the memo. Number 1. The coelacanth, a fish from before dinosaurs. For most of the 20th century, scientists believe the coelacanth went extinct 66 million years ago, right alongside the dinosaurs. Fossils showed up everywhere in the geological record, and then nothing. So, paleontologists used it as a marker for that mass extinction boundary. Well, in 1938, a fisherman off the coast of South Africa pulled one up in his net, very much alive, which caused a fairly significant scientific meltdown. The coelacanth is around 400 million years old as a lineage, meaning it was swimming around before trees existed on land. Trees are a younger invention than this fish. It has lobed, fleshy fins that move in a pattern more similar to how four-legged animals walk than how most fish swim, because it's essentially a fish that was experimenting with the concept of limbs before most of its descendants gave up and went back to fins. It can reach 6 feet long, weighs around 200 pounds, and lives in deep underwater caves along the East African coast and near Indonesia. A second population was found near Sulawesi in 1999, which means we lost track of a 6-foot prehistoric fish for 66 million years, and then found it twice. Number 2. Horseshoe crabs are older than almost everything. Horseshoe crabs have been on Earth for approximately 450 million years, which puts them before the first sharks, before most fish with backbones, and before basically anything you would recognize as an animal with any complexity. They survived all 5 of the major mass extinction events, including the one that wiped out 96% of all marine species during the Permian extinction. Their blood is copper-based, which makes it blue, and it clots instantly when it contacts bacterial contamination, so the medical industry harvests around 600,000 horseshoe crabs every year to extract their blood for testing pharmaceutical products and vaccines. A single quart of horseshoe crab blood is worth roughly $15,000. They breathe through book gills, which are exactly what they sound like. Flat gill structures that open like pages. Their closest living relatives are not crabs at all, but spiders and scorpions, which you probably could have guessed from looking at them for about 4 seconds. They haven't needed to evolve much because whatever they figured out 450 million years ago apparently works fine. And they have survived so many catastrophes that at this point, the planet probably just lets them stay out of respect. Number 3. The nautilus has been confused about its own existence since the Triassic. The nautilus belongs to a group of cephalopods that once dominated the oceans, with thousands of species spiraling around during the Paleozoic and Mesozoic eras. Now there are maybe 6 surviving species, which makes the nautilus kind of like being the last person at a party who refuses to leave even after everyone else has gone home. While squids and octopuses evolved advanced nervous systems, sophisticated intelligence, and the ability to change color, the nautilus kept its simple brain and its primitive pinhole eye, which has no lens at all, functioning sort of like an old pinhole camera with no focus capability. It also has around 90 tentacles with no suckers, compared to an octopus's 8 highly coordinated arms. And it lives inside a shell that can implode under pressure if it dives too deep. The nautilus can live up to 20 years, which is extremely long for a cephalopod, and it grows slowly and reproduces infrequently, which is a terrible strategy for a species trying to survive the modern ocean. Researchers studying them have found the same individual nautiluses over 15 years later in the same reef systems, drifting around doing approximately nothing, which feels both admirable and deeply sad. Number 4. Sharks were old before anything ate them. Sharks as a group have existed for around 450 million years, which means they predate the extinction of the dinosaurs by about 385 million years. They watched the dinosaurs come and go. Modern great white sharks are newer, appearing around 16 million years ago, but the shark body plan as a concept has barely changed since the Devonian period, when there were no forests and the largest land animals were early amphibians the size of large lizards. Their skeletons are made entirely of cartilage, which doesn't fossilize as well as bone. So most of what scientists know about ancient sharks comes from teeth alone. Sharks have been leaving fields of fossilized teeth across the ocean floor for hundreds of millions of years because they go through around 30,000 teeth in a lifetime, replacing each one every 1 to 2 weeks. They can detect electrical fields produced by other animals through sensory organs called ampullae of Lorenzini, which is a capability so effective that they can find prey hiding under sand. The bull shark can regulate its internal salt balance well enough to survive in freshwater rivers and has been found 2,500 miles up the Amazon River and in landlocked lakes in Nicaragua. At some point, the shark stopped being an ocean animal and became just a general water animal, which is either impressive or alarming depending on how close you live to a river. Number 5. The platypus is what happens when evolution has a crisis. The platypus looks like a biology joke, which is why when European scientists first received a preserved specimen in 1799, they assumed someone had sewn a duckbill onto a beaver and was attempting fraud. It's a mammal that lays eggs, nurses its young with milk that seeps through patches of skin since it has no nipples, senses electrical fields and water through its bill, has venomous spurs on its hind legs that are strong enough to cause excruciating pain in humans, and hunts entirely by electroreception, with its eyes, ears, and nose all closed underwater. The platypus lineage split from other mammals around 166 million years ago, back when mammals were generally small, shrew-like animals hiding from dinosaurs. It didn't really update much from that early mammal template, which is why it retained egg-laying from even earlier reptilian ancestors, while other mammals had already ditched that in favor of live birth. Males have 10 sex chromosomes instead of 2, arranged in a chain, which is a reproductive system so complicated that researchers spent years just mapping it. There are only 5 species in the platypus family, called monotremes, with the other 4 being echidnas, and together they represent a branch of mammal evolution that has been quietly existing in Australia and New Guinea, while the rest of the mammal world figured out placentas and became humans and whales and elephants. The platypus did not do any of that, and based on 166 million years of evidence, it doesn't need to. Number 6. Crocodilians outlasted literally everything. Crocodiles and their relatives have been around for around 95 million years in roughly their current form, which means they were contemporaries of Tyrannosaurus rex and then just kept going after the asteroid hit. The group they belong to, Archosauria, appeared around 252 million years ago and also includes birds. So technically, when a crocodile sits motionless at a riverbank, it's doing something its lineage has been doing since before the dinosaurs. Modern crocodiles can go without food for up to 2 years by slowing their metabolism to almost nothing, can hold their breath for up to 2 hours, and their hearts have a 4-chamber structure unique among reptiles that allows them to optimize blood flow differently depending on whether they're in water or on land. Their immune system is extraordinarily effective, and researchers have found that crocodile blood contains compounds that fight bacteria, including antibiotic-resistant strains, though nobody has successfully developed a drug from this yet. A large saltwater crocodile, the biggest living reptile on Earth at up to 23 feet long and over 2,000 pounds, can generate around 3,700 pounds per square inch of bite force, which is more than any other living animal on Earth. They communicate with their young using vocalizations while still inside the egg. After 95 million years of doing this, they remain one of the most successful ambush predators on the planet, which at some point stops being surprising and becomes a simple statement of fact about what perseverance looks like. Number 7. Lamprey is an ancient parasite that time ignored. Lampreys are jawless fish whose basic form has remained almost unchanged for around 360 million years, making them older than most land vertebrates. They don't have scales, paired fins, or bones in the conventional sense, and their skeleton is made of cartilage like sharks. What they do have is a circular, tooth-lined suction mouth that they use to latch onto other fish and feed on their blood and body fluids for months, or sometimes years at a time. A single lamprey can kill its host, though many survive the attachment since a lamprey that kills every fish it finds doesn't eat again. Sea lampreys invaded the Great Lakes through shipping canals in the 1800s and destroyed commercial fishing there by the 1940s, reducing lake trout populations by over 90% in some areas. Researchers release around 3.4 million sterile male lampreys per year into Great Lakes streams to disrupt breeding, which is a sentence that describes a strategy that seemed reasonable to someone. Lamprey larvae spend 3 to 17 years buried in stream sediment, eating algae and detritus, before metamorphosing into their parasitic adult form, which means the most destructive phase of their life comes after more than a decade of doing almost nothing. They were here before the dinosaurs, survived the asteroid, survived European colonization, survived being used as a medieval food delicacy, and are now surviving active human attempts to remove them from an entire connected system of lakes. The jawless fish is winning. Number 8. The goblin shark is a deep-sea relic nobody asked for. The goblin shark is the only living member of a family called Mitsukurinidae, a lineage going back around 125 million years. And it looks exactly like what would happen if a regular shark tried to become something else and stopped halfway through the process. Its most distinctive feature is a long, flat snout filled with electrical sensors and a jaw that can project forward almost to the end of that snout when striking prey. Something like a face inside a face launching outward. On video, it's alarming. The jaw projection mechanism is called slingshot feeding, and it's unique to this species among living sharks. Goblin sharks live at depths of around 4,000 feet or deeper and are rarely seen alive. So most of what's known about them comes from specimens accidentally caught in deep-sea fishing gear. Their skin is almost translucent and pinkish because the blood vessels underneath show through, which gives them an appearance that researchers describe in scientific papers as flabby. They can reach around 13 feet long. Scientists believe their population is relatively healthy because they've survived since the Cretaceous and deep ocean environments change slowly. But since humans can't easily access where they live, nobody is completely sure how many exist. A 125 million year old pink floppy shark with an extendable face is out there right now, and we're mostly guessing at the details. Nature has tried to kill every animal on this list at least once, and usually multiple times, through climate shifts, asteroid impacts, rising oceans, falling oceans, and millions of years of predators, and all of them are still here. Whether that's inspiring or just inconvenient probably depends on whether you live near the Great Lakes. As always, I love you guys.